was like June 2016.
2016.
That was the
during
time.
Hillary Clinton and Trump.
Yeah,
Remember?
and people just needed something to like get outside.
People were everywhere. I think that's the only year people like all the nerds came out from their bad.
People were out walking everywhere.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode 3 of Silk Chaos. I'm your host, Sensei. Joining me as usual, Octane and Salt.
Hey.
All right, guys. So this week, I think I kind of mentioned the topic. I know it's a little vague, but so what I want to talk so I went upstate and I don't know, like the environment there kind of like made me think about like all the different buildings and all the different houses I stayed in. So what I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about is like hear about your childhood houses, right? Like let's say until high school, right? Let's say I know, Octane, you grew up in Bangladesh very early ages. So like, what was that house like? What was like something unique about it? Or maybe there was a tree that you really liked it. Like, you know, like what do you liked about that building? You could name the building. You could do whatever, like sort of thing.
I mean, it could be any house, right? Like where you grew up.
It could be any house you lived in, not some random house.
Yeah.
I don't want to know about the Empire State Building.
Why would we tell you random stuff?
We're like, so Rasha, did you know the Empire State Building? I don't know. I don't know. Like, you want to start since?
Sure. Yeah. So I didn't grow up here. So I grew up in South Asian country, right. So I actually came from a village, right? Like actual village, right? Mm-hmm. So where I used to live in a house where like I don't know, they have like steel in the top.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So if when the rain falls, you can hear it.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is the house I used to live in.
And I believe it's made out of clay or some sort of like it's not brick. It's
the brick around, but on the top.
Oh really? It's brick. Okay.
Yeah, it's brick around, but on the top is like it's steel. They put the steel.
Yeah.
So when the rain falls, you can hear it.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, when it rains, the water goes through. So goes through it, right? Because this is a village I used to live, right? Then another thing is we never had the clean water, right? So we had to. So this is really like personal, but I'll share anyway. So what happened is we used to go to someone else's place to get the water. Mm-hmm. So what happened is we used to live in a village, but some other people, they had clear water because back home you have to get a clear water to cook rice, cook meals.
Yeah, because you can't cook with like dirty water.
Yeah.
And water is definitely something that's limited resource.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is now. That was like what, like 10, 15 years?
Yeah, I think it's still same. I went there like 10 years back and it's still same thing.
Yeah.
And what happened in our house, that house, we used to have this thing, I don't know what you call it, the thing you like put pressure in it, the water comes
The
out.
water pump,
water pump. We used to have that. So
what do you call
that
in Bangla? Call, I think? Like...
Yeah, they call it call, yeah. So this thing is like salty as fuck, right? Like, so you can't even make anything. You can drink it,
really?
But it's not good for health.
Okay.
But we have no other option so you have to drink it.
Right,
but for cooking, you have to bring the clean water for someone else who has some other people here has that, right? So you have to go there and get in a gallon.
Right.
So it was very very tough because we have to carry it from someone's far. Like if we live here, our other houses like they're like far away from here.
Okay, so you're talking like a couple miles, maybe.
No, not that far. Like
okay, so
point like 4 or 5.
Okay,
but you have to carry this big gallon.
Right.
Me and my brother used to carry this gallon to there to here.
Yeah.
My mom had a big what do you call that? Big container.
Containers.
So big containers, he just put it there, and then we have to go back, and until it's full, you have to keep coming and going.
So that's another thing. Like, so the containers, and it's not just like so. Bangladesh itself is like a very not a developed nation. So like when I used to live there, I remember like people used to have like storage of water because they never knew when the landlord.
No, that's
really?
different.
Right.
So rich people, not rich, like people are like upper level. They have like big tank, right? They call it tank, I think. They call it tank.
No, I'm talking about the actual storage. Like
those are like containers, like on the top of their
that's
ceiling.
The
they put
water
those.
System,
So the water comes there. You don't know when the water comes. You just fill it there. For us, we don't have that. We couldn't afford it. So we had to bring.
You were in the countryside, so even it was the infrastructure wasn't there. What do you think it was? Like,
No.
The city?
People next to us, they had it, but we didn't have it.
Oh, really?
So it depends. If you have money, you could get it, but we didn't have the money that time, right?
Okay.
So we had to. So whoever has it, we could get it. We get it from them.
Okay.
Right, because that's the clear water they get it through some washer or whatever they call it, right?
So they it clears or purifies the water, right?
So it was very on the house I live. I hate. I don't know if I go back there and I could sleep there one night. I don't think I could, but that time I just we had to no other option. It was like one of the best house for us that time, right? Yeah. But another thing about how every time monsoon happen, like a lot of rain and stuff happens. We stick the water in our house. So it's like happened like a few days ago. We saw that we had
here in New York City. The exact same thing. It just happened in New York City.
I don't know what the hell that was all about. Like,
it's not even the like first time it happened. It happened like just a few weeks before that time too. There was like the other tropical storm that hit New York City.
Any of you guys take flash flood warnings seriously? Like if someone if my phone said like a hurricane is coming, I'll be like, yo. Like,
you even look at it. I just put the sign says.
I mean, I see what kind of warning. Like if it's an Amber Alert and stuff, I'll look at it. But like if I see flash flood, I'm like, we're in a city. Like, don't you have like canals and shit to like deal with?
Okay, but I don't know if you guys heard about the flooding that happened in 2013, Hurricane Sandy. When Hurricane Sandy hit New York City, it flooded all the way up to 40th Street.
But that's different.
Really?
No, that's different. You know why? The Sandy came from the ocean, right? It came from this like what do you call it? Like hurricane or something, right?
Yeah, it was like a category 3.
But this thing happened in the basement. It actually came from your toilet.
Oh,
Came from the sewer.
Yeah. Where do you think that water comes from?
No. That one he says Sandy, right?
This is a hurricane too, right?
Yeah,
there was a hurricane.
No, but you never get water like that. Like it came from the basement, the sewer line.
Because the reserves and everything were over flooding. Yeah. So like that's why the water pressure was coming from the basement.
But you didn't actually get the water from the outside. Like you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, you're saying that the water from the flooding in Hurricane Sandy came from the ocean.
It slipped in.
But the flash flood we just recently had, the storm drains, they were going into the drainage system.
Yeah.
And they were overflowing.
And
so there it was causing, you could see all these crazy videos, we'll probably show here.
Like,
but there was some crazy, like, people's toilets were just backing up and shooting water out.
Tik-Tok was...
Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy.
That's the worst time we saw on the TikTok, right? Like, the worst thing about New York City. Like, it was raining hard.
Yeah.
It's like all the subways, like fucking flooding, right?
Yeah, absolutely crazy.
But my thing is, right, there's a reason why we don't take flash flood warning. We live in a city.
Yeah.
We should have this figured out. Why is New York City flooding? Like,
I think that nobody knew it's gonna be like that, right?
That's not true. That's not true. So back in, I think as early as like 2004, 2005, Al Gore was saying, Al Gore and his team, they were like, in a few years, as soon as a few years, you could see flooding in New York City. Everyone's like, oh, you're just making stuff up. It's not real. Because stuff like that scares investors, right? And I mean, that's a whole other thing. We don't have to get into that. But there, there's pushback on it. But then Hurricane Sandy came through 2013, and the restoration they were doing on the World Trade Center, that entire thing got flooded out. They had to bring multi-million-dollar pumps in and pump all the water out back into the Hudson. Like it was crazy stuff. And it's, I mean, not to be alarmist, but it is going to get worse.
Yeah. Going back to my story, so what happened? This thing happened once in a lifetime, or probably once in a while, right? It happened, the flooding.
Yeah.
But where I used to live, it happened every season. Like every season. So
it was monsoon season. So
monsoon season. You get this rain every day.
Yeah.
You flood every day. So you just see. So you get out of your house, all the streets are like ocean, little canal. You see.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're walking into. Like this water comes. Sometimes the snake comes in through this water.
Interesting.
So it was very. I think the house I used to live in very like worst condition. I could say like. So I would never go back to that house. I don't think I can live there anymore. Like if I go back now, I wouldn't go back. But that was one of the worst experience I ever had.
One thing I was going to say about that is growing up in Florida, when I lived in Florida, it's hurricane season like every year there, so it's very much like monsoon season. But what we do is we just have hurricane parties. That's just what we do. We have hurricane parties, and we just say,
wow.
"Oh wow!"
That's not the most Florida shit I heard.
Exactly right, because I mean, like what else? Like
Florida is like, yeah, this COVID, let's just go party more.
Yeah, that's all. That's all you do in Florida. COVID parties, hurricane parties, anything bad happens.
Crocodile parties.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Florida crazy.
but like I really do have fond memories of growing up in Florida and hurricanes coming through.
Why don't you share? Like, what was your first?
I have actually quite a few houses to share because growing up, we used to move around all the time, and it wasn't like. I don't even know why. It wasn't like army brat. There wasn't any like real situation behind it. It was just, I guess my parents wanted to move around all the time. So we did. And you're a kid. You hate it when you're a kid, right?
Yeah.
But now that I've grown up, I kind of appreciate.
You like traveling, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's weird how it works. Like you're always like, I'm never gonna be anything like my parents.
Yeah,
when you grow up, and then boom, you're exactly the same.
It's like opposite to our parents. Like my parents, they would never go on like vacation or anything. Vacation doesn't even exist in their dictionary, like
Yeah.
If they want to go somewhere, they probably go for the day, like go there for like and come back before dark.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because we like every year almost like on a rhythm we would move, and so there's a lot of different places that I feel that I could talk about that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, what's one of
so the first one that I actually want to talk about is I mentioned this before and I want to kind of elaborate on it. Is that when I first moved to New York City, I was around like 11 or 12. We were homeless at the time, so I want to talk about like the shelters that we lived in here in New York City because it is just kind of like a very interesting topic. I feel like a lot of people don't really, you think of like homeless people, you see homeless people on the street, and you just kind of you put it out of your mind because you see it all the time, right?
Right.
But having like been that person, it's kind of interesting. It gives me like a very different perspective. So I kind of want to go into that. So as I said before, we showed up in the city. And we basically just right into the homeless program because we didn't have any money. Yeah. And the reason why we came to the city, that's an entirely different story. I'll get into that one at some point too. And that's a funny story. Maybe not funny, but it's something. Anyways.
Yeah.
So we moved to the city. We showed up and pretty much immediately went to the homeless program. And the way that worked was you show up at one of these centers, one of these sites where they process you.
Okay.
So you apply and you wait for your application.
Oh, for homeless too, you have to apply.
Yeah, you have to apply. So you have to show up. You have to spend
capitalism.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This country is crazy. So let's say you get you get injured, right? And the ambulance shows up. First thing they're gonna ask for your freaking Medicaid card, right?
Yeah.
No matter what happened to you, you're gonna die in a second. But they're like, oh, don't care. Just show us your card.
Yeah, show us that we can bill your. Yeah, and it's kind of. But I mean, at least for the homeless program, it's a little different because they just have so many people that are trying to process. People who and they have to determine, who is worth
eligible
giving these limited resources.
It's not easy. Public assistance, like they're not funding enough to begin with, but the amount they're funding is impossible to help everyone. So they have to do vetting. They have to see. So that's how it is. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it was really interesting because you spend 2 or 3 weeks going through this process, and you're just kind of.
So what do you
at night? You just sleep in the chairs inside the
waiting room.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, you're just in the waiting room, staying there until.
So you take 2-3 days to process the whole.
2-3 weeks.
2 weeks.
Weeks. Yeah,
so
we're talking.
Where do you stay meanwhile? Like you're gonna like stay in the
waiting room? You just stay inside the waiting room.
You just stay in the chairs
for 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, and that's just how it is. You apply, and they'll put you up somewhere. It might be a hotel, it might be some housing unit that they own for people to stay for a day or two, and that happened occasionally. Right. So we would stay there, but usually it was just you wait overnight at the actual place, right? And then they feed you there too, so they have these mystery meat meals that they used to give you. So it's just a sandwich and cheese and something else.
Something in the middle. What it is.
At the point, whatever you get, you have.
Yeah, whatever you get, right?
And whatever it is, you just guess and eat.
Yeah, you can't really complain at that point. Right. It's better than nothing, right? And I remember that they had a TV and they were playing Rugrats in Paris on the TV. That's one thing very, very vividly sticks out. But eventually, they did get to placing us, and we got placed in a house somewhere in Queens. It was one of those giant like hundreds of unit buildings.
Okay, like the complex.
Yeah, a complex, right? And it was like gated off. There was like a security gate you had to go through in order to get in. Yeah.
Which part of Queens do you remember?
I don't remember. Okay. And I'm gonna, after this, I'll do a little bit of research and see if I can find post like the screenshots of the building if I can find them. But so I don't have very many memories of that, but I remember eventually we got resorted back to somewhere in the Bronx, and I have very vivid memories, like just crazy stuff, because I was basically sleeping in a cot in the living room, and then there was like a 1-bedroom, and that was like where my little brother and my little sister and my mom slept, right? Yeah. And I remember like every night just like being woken up by the rats like running around inside the stove or running up and down the like living room. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And I'm sure there's more and more that I could talk about, but there was a playground there. Yeah. And so, we would just go spend most of our day just hanging out at the playground. And one thing that I remember super vividly, there was a supernova, a star supernova, and it was so bright that you could see it in the middle of the daytime while we were staying at there. Oh, really? So you look up in the sky and there's just a star there in the middle of the day. And because the star just blew up, it went supernova.
For how long?
Like, it was a good 2 or 3 days you could see it. Yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy. And so that's one of the other things that stood out. So part of the reason why I even brought that one up first at all is if you're looking for any charities to donate to, highly recommend donating to your local homeless shelter.
It is something that is so underfunded. Like, even I don't know how I feel. Like, as you said, right, when you see on the street, I'm not like, I usually avoid them. Like, just like, you don't want to interact, like, whatever. But that whole homeless, like, I don't know how we should, like, we're so, I guess, not educated on it that we don't know how to, like, handle it and stuff. I have no idea why someone is homeless or what they go through, what the shelter life is or, like, thing, right? I'm pretty sure most of America's don't, but anytime there's anything, like homeless are making our city dirty, like that's the connotation we're always fed. Yeah. Right?
And there's other ones too that like, you shouldn't give money to homeless people. They're just going to use it for drugs and stuff. And it's hard to tell because some people legitimately do. So like, how do you like weed people out? And then in New York City, there's scammers everywhere, and you have to learn to be like cautious of these people who are going to scam you. Because if you don't, well, they'll scam you, right?
Yeah. I mean, one argument I personally used in the past, which I don't agree with now, is that, it's better not to just give. Because if some of them are going to use it, maybe all of them. Like, you just, like, you always take the negative and then, I guess, use that to, like,
to like, justify.
Yeah, generalize.
So I recently, like, so I see a lot of homeless around, right? So what I do, instead of, like, giving them money, I rather buy them food. Yeah. So if they ask for food, nice, but most of them they're like, no, I don't want food, I want money. I'm like, nah, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash.
I have my card on me. And somebody the other day was like, hey, do you have a few dollars to spare? And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have cash. He was like, I have Venmo.
I love it. I love
it. You got me.
If someone says that to me, I'm like, you got me, bro. You're the first one. You got it. You deserve it.
I'm hesitant to do that though because I know somebody who did it once. Yeah. And that person just like constantly like requests them like hundreds of dollars on it.
Wow.
Every day. Hey, bro.
Hey, more dollars. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's just like it's a tough spot, and it's not just the USA that deals with this. Every country deals with homelessness, so it's a difficult situation.
Yeah. One thing I don't like about homeless that the young kids doing, like young means like someone who's like 20 to 30 years, right? Yeah. They've been homeless. I don't get it why. Like if you're young, I don't understand, and I know they have a story. Everyone has their own story. Yeah. I don't want to judge them, but I feel like if you're young, you could do a lot of work. There's a lot of work. This America, you could work 24 hours if you want to work. Yeah. Right. There's a lot of work out there, but
I see your point, and it is a thing. Like the reason why I feel like that's not always thing, because you're not also considering like mental health of that person, right? Also, ability to work. It's really hard to get a job without an address. It's impossible to get a job without an address. Any application, you'd be like, what's your address? What's your thing? So if you're homeless, it's hard. Like I know a lot of counties and stuff are right now starting programs where they're giving temporary homes to homeless, so they could use that as an address or like an address home, basically.
Yeah.
So
and then the other thing is clothes. Like you don't want to like hire somebody who shows up in their unwashed like 20-week-old.
It's not as easy as it is. Like again, we talk like it's funny how we always tell all the systems are broken.
Yeah.
You may think it is like, but if you read about it or look into it, and I'm not saying that because you don't know, right?
You don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Even I don't know, right? Like
we want to make an assumption,
It's like it's crazy. Like once you look into it, like I was the type like. Capitalism is one thing that I can't stand anymore. Like, I was like always for capitalism. Like, you know, it makes sense. Like, people should earn money and like thing. But the way capitalism is like focused on short term, one thing it does is just fucks up our environment, and that itself is like veto to me. Like that's a blocker right there.
It's difficult. It's really difficult to say because on one hand you don't want to allow this kind of like mindset that we'll just do whatever for the short term, But counterpoint, I feel like eventually the market corrects once it understands how to prepare for those things. And what I mean by that is that you're not going to invest in, let's say, building a like multi-story housing complex in Miami if you know that the water level is just going to rise and then it's going to be flooding, you're going to lose your investment in a year. I think that the mindsets are slowly, they're not there yet. I think it may take another 20 or 30 years, but they're slowly drifting in the direction of, okay, we need to think about long term because, maybe short term we could save money by dumping water into the Hudson, but if that comes back on us and the Hudson overruns and our like apartment buildings filled with shit, like that's going to cost more money in the long run. So companies, I think, will eventually have to start thinking about that, but I think we're also going to have to like force them that way.
Right. And like, I think what's interesting, I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys in the podcast or maybe off camera or something, like, because there's a lot of ways to make money right now with being sustainable and all that. Like, and there's a lot of like companies like Tesla are making bang just by a thing, and they're not fully net zero, right? They still have, but they can't because you need to change the whole infrastructure to get to net zero. But yeah, like these companies like that are making banks, right? I still don't understand why these cash companies who have billions of ExxonMobil is one of the biggest fucking company in the world. They have so much fucking cash. Why can't they just be like, hey, here's 30% of that money, let's invest. They're doing like 1%, 2%. Like they're still investing on gas and coal and all that. Oil, that's what I'm thinking of. Oil. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy to me. It really is. But I mean, if you have a golden goose, like
I guess
that's kind of like the mindset. So I don't know.
I want to go back to like what you said. You used to live in a shelter, right? So how about the kids? Like, let's say you don't have an address to can't work. So how about school? When you go to school, you need the address too. So.
So here's the interesting thing about that, and I'll go more in depth of what my time like going to.
If you don't, I mean, if you want to.
No, I do. Yeah. But like the school portion of it's much longer. But essentially, what it came down to was after a month or two in the system, they're like, okay, now that you're here, you're housed, you're like stable. In order for us to keep you inside of this, system, in order for you to keep your place, your kids have to go to school.
Right.
And I was very against going to school. I didn't want to. And I just, school was not my thing. But also I'd been like homeschooled up until this point for the most part too.
Right.
So to like just instantly drop back and like socializing again. And to be fair, I feel like that's maybe something that the parents should just like, okay, well, you're going to school anyway, right? And but my mom was very lenient, which I mean, I'm grateful for. Right, that's like I'm cool with that.
Kid,
right? But cool, I don't have to go anymore. And after like fighting and like pushing back, because I did go to school for a short time here in the city, in the Bronx.
So you never went to like any school, like?
Oh well, no. So I went to high school. So I did eventually. I eventually like signed up for high school at ninth grade. Right. I did try going to school a couple times. So I did fourth grade, and I did all of fourth grade. I did. Some of 8th grade in school, and then I did.
What do you mean some of 8th grade? How about 5, 6, 7?
I was just homeschooled for it. So there's like programs where they like ship you like learning materials, and you have to like do the learning materials by a certain amount of time, right? And so it was okay. I mean, I'm definitely behind.
You think you think that you never fall back because they never held you down though.
Yeah, they never held me back, but I don't know if that's a good thing for me or a failure of the school.
I mean, they have to move you in order like based on your age. I think if you're like 20 years old, they're not gonna put you in like not 20. Like if you're like 15, they're gonna not gonna put you in like 7th grade, right?
I think there's like you still have to take the tests and stuff wherever state and wherever county you are. You have to follow their
so you do have they do have like tests that they can give you to see, and also so here's kind of the messed up thing about the Florida school system is if you, and maybe it's not this way anymore, but it was this way when I was going to school, they give schools funding based off of how many students leave the high school and go into college. That's where the funding comes from, right? And so you're not incentivized to actually make sure that your students are learning anything at that point. You just want them to go. You just want them to go. So to just like, let's say that you're put in that situation and you have the opportunity to bring another kid to your school that could potentially go to college afterwards. You're not going to ask too many questions about like how much that person actually knows. Because they're just, another opportunity to get that much more funding because you let them go through the system and then push towards them going to college.
It's all about the funding, bro. It's never about the education.
It never is. Like, it's funny how in our podcast go ahead.
So, sorry for interrupting.
No.
So here's the thing. So I was watching this movie called Farmer Riders. I was just watching it last night for 2 nights ago. So this movie is about like kids in the like ghetto areas, right? So this girl, the lady in the movie, she was trying to get all the funds, but school not providing it. So this movie is like you said, they don't care about the student. They just want them to pass and go get out of the school.
Exactly.
This kid not learning anything. They don't get the books. They don't get anything. Because they are black and Hispanic. They're thinking, the school committee thinking, okay, no, then if I give them books, they're probably going to rip it and never return it back.
Even if the community or whatever they want to do it, it's not, they can't because the budgets are not there, right?
Yeah.
So school budgets are mostly determined by like property tax and all this other stuff, right? Yeah. So more often that lower income doesn't have enough property tax and stuff. Again, as you said, racism and segregation and all this comes up, years of systematic shit comes in, so on both of your depressing notes, let's move on to my thing, which is a little less
maybe we should look the move a little bit.
I asked you, he's like, I hated that place. I asked you, he's like, it's a homeless shelter. I'm just fucking. It is what it is, right? We all have different. It's good to know. I didn't know about this before. Right?
No, I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed about. I just think everyone, we all came from somewhere. We all have a story, right? We all have a story. If you let's say you go to stadium and you see 1,000 people are there cheering, right? Everyone have their own story. If they want, they can write a book about themselves. Every single person. Let's stop here and you can start yours.
Oh no! You could continue. I was just.
But to your point, I agree.
If it's depressing, I call it out. It is like there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not like. It's the struggles and the things you live that makes you the person you are, right? It's funny you mentioned because money is such a thing that, right, like I don't know where I saw it. I think it was like Ariana Grande, right? How she became famous. She had rich parents. She had to like go to vocal class and stuff, right? I never thought about it. This dude was literally just pointing out how the opportunity she got is because of the opportunity she has, right?
Yeah.
She's famous. She may, no one's saying that she's not talented, right? But just because she had a little talent and a lot of opportunity. It got her to the place where she is, right? So I totally understand all that.
It's always been like that, though.
Yeah, it's always been like that.
Yeah, like even if you consider like back at like Isaac Newton had access to a lot of money. Like all the like big scientists you can think of throughout history, they had the opportunity to just sit around and be like, wonder how gravity
Yeah.
works. You know, like other people could have potentially like also figured out the same stuff, but they just never had the money. They never had the
like
opportunity.
if you're starving, if an apple falls on you, you're not thinking about gravity. You're just eating that.
Yeah, you're like,
apple.
oh wow, you know, food.
Let me eat that apple. Let's not think about gravity here. But yeah, no, I just don't like. I rather treat things lightheartedly, but I do understand the heavy connotation.
Honestly, like, and I'll say, if I could go back and do it again, like, I think I would just leave it the way it was, because now I have like a perspective, right?
Exactly.
And I feel like a lot of people, you know, maybe a lot of people maybe don't have that perspective, and they're not bad people for not having had that perspective, but it makes them, you know, in some way a little blunted. You know, they're not able to consider every aspect of why somebody might do something.
Exactly,
you don't have that perspective, right?
Sure. But yeah, no, like, so the first building, I did grow up in Bangladesh for a few bit. I don't remember too much about it. But I do want to talk about the first building I came here. Let's just call it 523. It wasn't an apartment complex. It was a brown pre-war building.
I see.
You know, you've seen those like New York style pre-war building, and I think it had 6 units and had like a gap in the middle, so like air and all that, and it had a roof. That
I would hope it had a roof.
It had 4 sides. On top.
There were walls. There was a door.
There was a floor and everything. Not a roof. My landlord was probably like, that dude did do a lot of cost cut. Like,
I see.
you know, it started off, there was a little diversity there, like, it was Bengalis mostly, and then there was some Hispanic and stuff. But as year went on, it just became fully Bengali, because that neighborhood itself became fully Bengali. Yeah, like, no one talks about gentrify in that way. The immigrants do come and, like, gentrify a whole neighborhood to their
call on gentrification when it's like white people come.
Yeah. There's gentrification in other things. Yeah. You see that more in Brooklyn than, like, so, like...
I think it's just not as widespread, because this,
but the medium income, the household price in that that neighborhood I grew up, it skyrocketed because the immigrant, like, Bengali, like, it became like a what do you call that? Like a mini... Like a
community.
Community, right? Yeah. So people want to buy there, people want to live there, because the grocery store is there. I understand why it happens, right?
There's people who can, like, speak the language that you know how to speak. There's more people who have, like, the same experiences as you in life.
Like, anyone that comes from there will land there, try to buy a house there, because you know you're around people and stuff. You feel safe. You come to America and you don't have anyone, you want to live there, right? Yeah. And so same thing with us. We live there and stuff. That house had a lot of unique characters. I mean, we had to suffer through bed bugs, roads, mice. Mice is like a neighbor in New York City,
right?
It's your house pet at this point.
Especially for apartment building.
Apartment building.
Yeah, those huge apartment buildings that are pre-war, those are terrible for mice.
One thing I don't understand, how they go inside this ceiling, like how do
holes. These ceilings are gaps, bro.
I know, but how they get in here? Like, where's
holes?
They climb up the outside.
Oh shit!
So the walls are true citrus, and I know this because I actually seen, like, my brother-in-law renovate his own thing. So it's literally you call those stems or studs, and these are like woods in between, and then 2 citrus in between. Not the pre-brick building. Brick buildings have brick, but
so it's like empty.
Yeah, if you punch this, you going through that citrus, and it's like empty. Yeah. Some people put insulation and all that, but it depends.
Good thing none of us are named Kyle.
Why?
You don't know about that?
I don't know that meme. No, what happened with that meme?
Supposedly, you know, the only people who punch holes in walls are named Kyle. They drink Monster Energy. They wear their hat on backwards.
I love how the internet just naming people. Like, if a white guy is hanging out with black people, apparently he's called Mark now.
Mark?
If a white dude is like a bunch of black dude and is like, it's not a bad way. He's just Mark.
He's just Mark.
Mark.
Yeah, it's like super buff guy guys are Chad. Like, super,
Chad,
like,
right? Like,
yeah, super bitchy. Like women are Karen. Yeah, like,
he's like the internet is just naming everyone.
Yeah.
Yo, but for real though, quick side note: people who name their kids that stuff, knowing that like that's socially like that's messed up. Your kid is not gonna have a fun life.
Exactly.
I would not name my kid Karen.
You know, there is
Karen is blacklisted.
there's one parents they call their kid hashtag.
Hashtag.
Yo,
How could you call yourself hashtag? Come in.
there's like a website. I'll see if I can find it and post it. But there's it's just a list of all the crazy names people have named their kids so far. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You should like you know, coming from comp sci and stuff like thing. I think it'll be like, I know there are some stories like it'll be funny to name your kid like a string of character that just breaks the database. Like,
there's an XKCD about that. There's a meme about how there's an XKCD for everything.
Right? Like you just name your kid some thing. What's the most universal? Like underscore. Like some database. No, underscores are handled. Like dashes are usually not handled mostly.
I know in Twitter, if you try to put like an open bracket and a closed bracket, it'll break. Like it will throw you in there.
You name your kid a combination of Unicode that just breaks the fucking data.
Bro, yeah, what's the guy named? Elon Musk call his daughter, I think, or son, right?
Yeah.
X something, X,
X,
Y,
Y,
Z something.
Yeah, I don't even know how to
Man,
pronounce it.
Bro, like,
When you got money, bro.
You can only do that if you've got money. You
Bro,
can only do that.
And the thing is, I respect him for it. If you did, I'd be like, what's wrong with you, dumbass? Elon Musk does it. You know what? You get to do it.
I mean, he earned the respect. That's why you were like, okay, whatever he does, he's doing it right. Because he's a really smart, genius man. Right?
Yeah, no, he's a revolutionary. I don't agree with every fucking shit he does, but I respect the shit out. He is putting us. He is moving. No matter what, he's not like.
He's thinking like 10 years far. Like 10 years far.
He is being put in a pedestal. Like, you know, business are not made with one CEO. He has 30 other people that are smarter than him doing things, right? But he is the person that is like catalyst, however you pronounce
Catalyzed?
it. No, like pushing. Like,
he's the catalyst.
That word. See, this is why I have you, Joe. For English.
Wow, don't say like that.
Instant Grammarly. You know how? Instant Grammarly.
Just walking Grammarly over here. Right. Just walk onto a podcast.
Joel, we have to install a Grammarly software for our podcast. So you just correct yourself. We don't do anything.
Yeah, we just have like a TV back here.
You got two immigrants here, so.
Right.
Yeah, so that house, like, I remember the backyard was, even though it was an apartment, I really like my landlord. He was mad chill with me. Like, he let my family, like, garden there, and you know, Desi people loves gardening. They'll garden everything under the roof.
Exactly, bro.
I think Asians too. I know a lot of Asians in general, like South Asians and East Asians love gardening.
They love gardening, bro.
Interesting. I didn't know.
Whenever we do that trip around Brooklyn, I'll show you like the Asians' house. They're always like cucumbers, pumpkin.
Tomato.
Yeah.
We have these eggplants, bro. Yeah. Today we have the house. We recently bought a house, right? We just my mom brought like this much of fruits from my house to this here because we used to live in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
So she brought all this stuff for the old neighbor.
Just like tons of
stuff
fruit.
like this. I couldn't even like.
They love gardening.
Yeah.
But so he let us garden there. That's pretty cool. I like the I had like pretty much wide open to any of the thing. You know, he was never there. He had like 5 other buildings. My dude is doing really well. He did buy it dirt cheap though. Like the buildings he bought were dirt cheap. Like, but you know, New York City real estate.
Just gotta wait for that next economic downturn.
New York City is. I don't care what anyone says. Every single house in the United States could go foreclosure. I feel like New York City real estate will never hit that broken thing that people do.
It goes back to this climate change thing though.
Oh,
that's gonna be the thing that will like.
Yeah, then we're fucked. Then everybody's fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
We got like fires over there. We got tornadoes over there.
Yeah.
What's happening? The Midwest is COVID over here.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my lord, bro.
That's something to consider.
How are we all like smiling? We should be crying under the bed.
Oh, don't worry. That happens too. It's just off camera.
Just off camera. Bro, if you think about it, bro, what's happening? The fire's still going on, right? Like in Cal and stuff. Isn't that still burning? Like
I think it might be under control now, but it was. I was out in Montana at the time, and it was so foggy out. You couldn't see like the mountains in the distance or anything.
Wow.
And the smoke came all the way to New York City. I'm so glad I wasn't here on the days that like the fire and the smog from
really?
the fires.
Yeah,
you didn't hear about that? Yeah, so
where in Montana?
No, here in Manhattan.
No.
So just like a month ago, the smog from the fires in California came all the way over to New York City.
No way.
Yeah. I'll post like the articles about it. But yeah, so it and the air quality those days was super, super bad. That's not so. I mean,
that's
ridiculous. Here.
Yeah, the world is. I mean, theory of chaos.
At some point, I want to go into all the different types of like chaotic systems. There's classifications for different like chaotic systems.
Right, like that's fucking. So I remember like I had full access to the whole house. I had a neighbor. I'm not gonna mention his full name, but let's call him. Give me a name.
X.
Right? Not X. Like
Alex?
he was a nerd. I guess
he was a nerd.
Yeah. Did the internet give a name for nerds?
No.
What's the?
Yeah, I don't know if they have yet.
All right, internet. Let's name the nerds. Let's call them something.
Yeah,
weebs. I guess he did watch anime, so we could call.
Yeah,
him
we could call him a weeb. but we should think about what would we call a nerdy
kid? Like
let's make something up.
Anyway. So we got Marks, we got Chad. We need to find leave it on the comment below.
Yeah. What do you think we should call nerds?
What do you call nerds?
Let us know.
No, mind the fact that we're all nerds here. Safe space.
Yeah.
So let's call my friend the weeb here.
The weeb next door.
We used to go upstairs. We used to play cards. Yugioh, like we used to play.
Yo.
Yugioh. It was so lit. Remember Yugioh? Oh my god, I remember. And I used to live in that house when Yugioh was so big. You used to go out.
Talk about Yo-Yo, the thing.
No. It was a card game. So
it was a card game, like a collectible card game.
So I don't think you know about that, Octane.
No.
You wanna explain?
Blue Eyes White Dragon, baby. Let's go.
You wanna explain Yu-Gi-Oh and the whole culture of people playing each other on school?
Yeah. So Yu-Gi-Oh was based off of an anime, of course. So I don't know if they made the game and then they made the anime or the.
It was the game first.
Okay, so they made the game first and then they made an anime about it.
No. You're right.
I think it was the anime.
It was an anime. I'm thinking of Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon was the other way around.
Yeah.
So the way that it worked was basically they made this anime, and the anime was about these kids, I guess.
Yeah.
This kid named Yugi who would go around and like do card battles. So it's like a board game.
It's like a board.
It's a board game, but you buy the cards individually. So you buy these packets of cards. You know how in like let's say Overwatch or whatever other you have loot boxes where like you buy a loot box. Okay.
Only board game I play is Secret Hitler.
Okay. It's not even a board game. It's called a trading card game. So like the cards have value, even though if you it's even a whole like this bunch of kids. There's Magic, there's Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon.
Yeah.
So basically. With these cards, you could strategize, you could make game. It's not as simple. It's easy to pick up.
You can build your own deck, and this deck has the cards that you put in.
Yeah.
And so there's different like types of decks you could play.
You
could build like a dragon deck. You can build like a
maybe I have to play it too.
Honestly, I would be down to like just
play Yu-Gi-Oh. You like Yu-Gi-Oh?
I mean, I used to love it. I actually used to play like competitively. I went to a couple competitions.
Oh really? No, I never played
pretty well. Yeah.
Shit.
I would love to do a stream where we just unpack a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and we just
so there's a funny thing. So in back in Asia, right, people call Yo-Yo's different thing. So I don't know if you guys ever played with this thing.
Yo-Yo?
No, Yo-Yo. They call it
yeah.
They call it, I thought that's the same game.
Nah. It's a card game, but
yeah. Yeah, I understand now.
So the playing thing, but the cultural aspect of it. Remember Pokemon Go?
Yeah.
So
I didn't play, but
you never played,
bro. But I go to, but people who who play that, I feel like they do it for what do you call, like walking or stuff, like
for
exercise. But
not Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was for now.
Yeah,
it was
the
last
crazy
person
phenomenon.
that I don't play.
We went to gym together.
Not me. I never played. I never downloaded the app.
Pokemon Go was a culture.
Yeah, it was like June 2016.
2016.
That was the
during
time.
Hillary Clinton and Trump.
Yeah. And people just needed something to like get outside.
People were everywhere. I think that's the only year people like. All the nerds came out from there bad.
People were out walking everywhere.
Pokemon, one thing it told me is that I do not want anything in my life to go exponential. Because the harder they go, the harder. Like,
it felt pretty hard.
Yeah, but
right
I think they're still making tons of money. There's a whole fan base, but I mean, since you don't know Pokemon Go, but Yu-Gi-Oh itself had a culture phenomenal, right? You know how like people would play sports and stuff?
Yeah.
Nah, people would go out. We used to duel each other on the neighborhoods, on the school. Like, you're like, yeah, you want to duck? Because everybody had their own deck. Yeah. And every deck is different. Every game strategy is different. Every player style is different. Some people like to attack. Some people like... And back then, it was much simpler. Now it's a little more complicated.
Yeah, now I think it's like really, really super complex. But back in the day, it was like super simple, and everyone had these little like cases that they could carry their decks around in, and you had your motherfucking strap on you. You're always like ready to go.
The more money you had, the better cards you had, though.
Exactly.
But some people used to duel for cards. You used to like if you lose, you lose your best cards.
So this is for teenager only? Or?
No, I mean everybody.
Everybody was playing it, but it was like a cultural thing. It was just like there used to be like groups that would go to like Barnes and Noble or like Books A Million, like every like once a week, and they would like buy card packs and they would duel and like.
Do you see kids playing now on the street? No, but back then you would see people like if you walk down, you would see people dueling like.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
This game reminded me of something I used to play back home, like so you know the marble, right? The regular marble.
Yeah.
So we used to play with this marble, like you just like lay it on the ground, then you aim it.
Yeah, you like shoot the marble and you like try to like.
Did you ever play for money? Did you ever?
No. We used to play for marble like in 7th grade. Like that's when the Yu-Gi-Oh phase and all that was coming down. My high school middle school got into marble. So we used to like play 3 touch. I think it was like 3 touch and you're out, and then winner gets the marble basically.
So
So
that one I'm saying is a different game, right? So let's say if me and a Salt player, right? Yeah. So you have to give me 5 from yours. From your hand, 5 marble, and I have to give 5, right? Then we're gonna do like the coin. Whoever gonna go first, okay? Right? Then you have to like lay on the ground. Yeah. So you're gonna be like, so you aim that one. If I aim it, if I hit it, then it's all of them is mine. If I can hit it, you get your chance.
Yeah, interesting.
Then you get to do the same thing, vice versa. So if this game is similar to you guys, like when you were a kid, I used to play this game. No kids play nowadays, but
So it's like that, like Yu-Gi-Oh was like on a much larger like thing, but it was not a thing. So, but I remember like that's what I used to play with that kid. Like we used to play on the rooftop all the time, but just going out that neighborhood, because that was when I used to live at that house. It was the peak of YouTube, right? Like I'm sorry, YouTube, Yu-Gi-Oh. Like dueling with people. Like what was your experience? Like
I had such a really like good time growing up playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah. Like I said, like I played competitively. Like I played in a couple competitions, right?
You did.
And I guess it was just like something to kill the time, something to do with my time, right? And I had a lot of like really valuable cards, and it was so messed up. I'm still like pissed at myself for this. I like don't have very many regrets. One thing I regret is that
what you did?
When I was like 13, I had my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I was like, man, you know what, like. The religion I'm in, they say that Yu-Gi-Oh is like demonic and stuff. Like, maybe I should try to be more religious, and I threw them all away.
Wow.
The biggest mistake I ever made.
You don't understand, right?
Yeah, bro, this was I had like $20,000 worth of cards.
So when you saying about this, I was thinking of something else. So I talked about the marble, right? Yeah. So this guy in our where I used to live, right? This guy doesn't like it. He's like, this is not good. Don't play this. This is really bad. He was playing this. This is like a gamble. Don't play this. Yeah. So what he does, What are you playing?
I mean, you guys were playing for money, so it is technically
money
gambling.
means not money. Like you win. I win your marble. That's
okay. That's not money. Okay.
So money comes later. Okay, let's say this guy running out of the marble. He's gonna buy it from you.
Oh, that's dirty.
So that was the thing, bro. Yeah. So this guy just came up from nowhere. He grabbed all our inventory, whatever we have, like, everything. And
he sounds like an ass.
Same thing like you said, right?
Yeah.
So
the thing is, right, like, so cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards and any trading cards, they get over in value. And the only reason they're just piece of paper. The only reason their value is because of rarity and thing. So like something like when we started playing, that's when Yu-Gi-Oh just started. So like first edition, right? So you used to get like first edition Blue Eyes. We had those kind of cards. It wasn't that hard to get. Blue Eyes, first edition, you used to get it with the starter pack of Kaiba, right?
Yeah.
But now this card is worth like hundred thousands, not hundred, but maybe 10,000s of like dollars, right? Because this one piece of card you had as a kid, and based on how good the condition is a thing. You know what happened?
And then there's also like rarities.
Rare is the thing.
You
like,
get like holographic, where like the art was like had this like special like sheen to it. And then there was some.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the nerds that play got rich.
Yeah,
they wanna like, that's the whole thing. Like, why you think, you know, that the most expensive thing ever sold, a comic book, was sold for 7 or 9 million, I think $11 million.
Wow.
Superman first edition action
crazy.
Comic, a piece of book that was 5 cents.
Yeah, 5 cents.
What is the markup there, bro? What is the percentage? Like a million?
Millions of percent. Millions of
percentage. A 5-cent book.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because if you take out the value that we associated, the book is still worth 5 cents. It's just the book is 5 cents. Like when it was first
when
sold.
it came out in like the 60s or whenever.
But it's the rarity. You can never find that book, like the physical version of it.
Who buys it? Is it like the pound store?
Collectors. There's collectors out there, and they're just people who have tons of money and they just.
I know people. There's people like cause Pound Shop or Pound Star. They buy this kind of like treasury stuff.
I mean, that's their business. But these are people like, let's say if I had money, I will buy fucking Detective Comics in a heartbeat. That's the first appearance of Batman, right? Yeah. I love Batman. Like, I'll buy that in a heartbeat if I had that money. But a lot of the time, people don't even sell it because, you know, if I got that shit, I will not sell until I really need to. Like,
if I knew, I would buy it and sell it for a profit.
This same
that's why the comic the people did that actually. That's why the whole comic industry crashed in the mid thing.
Oh yeah, during like the silver age of comics.
Yeah.
This is actually something that exists in mobile games as well. This concept of people who spend a ton of money on your mobile game or on your microtransactions. They're called whales. They're people who are like 80 to 90% of the money that you get in from your
game and stuff. That's how you make money, is basically with whales.
Whales. It's like you get like 10 people in your game and they just spend thousands of dollars on your game.
One thing I want to mention is so you guys talk about the game when you were a kid, right? Or like when teenager at least, right? But nowadays kids don't play this kind of game no more. All they do like play games on the TV, right?
So this is, I think it's different levels, right? We used to play Yu-Gi-Oh and this and that. Now they're playing Overwatch. I mean, a lot of people still do play Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic. It's still very popular, but it's not like on the street popular anymore.
Yeah.
I think now is more like kids are playing video games. I think honestly, I think kids have more options.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Back then it was like you did what everybody else was doing.
Because we are the millennials, right? Now we're talking about Gen Zs, right?
Yeah.
But whatever the next generation, you know, there's a new generation called Alpha. They call Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha.
So kids are born from 2010. They consider as an alpha.
Okay.
So
really?
what they're gonna have? New
they're gonna have their version of it, right? Like our version is like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and I feel like now because of limited option, finding people that you click with, things like, you know, social media that keep putting you in groups that you're good at. You just do what you're interested in. You're interested in anime, if that's your personality, you get into anime. You're interested in cards, you play cards.
I think that there will be a certain amount though of being interested in things that your friends are interested in.
Still.
It's just that, you know, I think that the way that kids make friends in the future is going to be a little different than how we made friends growing up.
Like
we made friends like at school and but you don't have to do that anymore. You can just go online and make friends with anybody, right?
Yeah. It's funny how you say it's so true though. Like if your group of friends gets into something, eventually you want to get into it or you try like cannabis with us, bro.
Even I know I think you all know that someone in the group smokes cigarette. Everybody started smoking today or tomorrow. But I think I'm the only guy. I think I hang out with a lot of people. They smoke, but I never smoke.
Nah, you don't smoke. You just smoke cannabis. But you started smoking with us just because we got into it. I know. So, I'm just saying. So it's equivalent. But that's true though.
Yeah. I think peer pressure is something.
Peer pressure,
peer pressure.
I think that there's good peer pressure and there's bad.
Yeah. I think it's like you want to be what is this thing about? Like let me try it out. Okay, it's not bad. Yeah.
If he's doing it, why not? Right?
Yeah. I mean, again. Evaluate. We don't recommend you smoke or anything just because your friends
don't get addicted to Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a terrible.
Or any of this. Like figure it out for yourself what you're into and moderation, I guess. But
let's go back to garden.
We went garden. We went Yu-Gi-Oh. Let's hear about this house.
No, this house is like a pre-war building. It was a good house. Like I really. I have a lot of fun. It was my first house in America.
One thing real quick, for people who don't know, pre-war refers to buildings that exist in New York City that existed before World War II. So they're called pre-war. Yeah. And so a lot of brownstone buildings are pre-war.
They
a lot of that's what pre-war means.
Pre-war?
Yeah. Before World War II.
And the architecture is totally different. Like the rooms are much bigger. The windows are there and stuff because people at that time was not living in a fucking
and there's a lot more radiators. There's a lot there's not central air. There's
central air. The whole aesthetic, like living in a modern building in P-World is a thing. It's not a bad. It's really good. It works. The heating works so well because it's you will not feel cold.
Yeah. Yo, I'll tell you though, when your radiator has a whistle and it's just whistling, that is the worst. That's the absolute worst.
That's so good. That's the aesthetic and it's leaking water. Maybe we'll put a video. Your radiator is so hot that it's leaking water. It's smoke. You only get that.
So what else there? When you're that building?
Yeah, no, that I mean. I really like the
I bet you used to share a room with your brothers.
Going on that, right? I used to it was so the six of us, right? My parents and I have 4 siblings, including myself, right? Okay. We used to live in a 2-bedroom place, but even though it was so what do you call it? Congested. It was still a home, right? I remember having a bunk bed.
Did you have 2 bunk beds in one room? All 4 kids just slept in one room. How did that work?
My sisters used to stay one bed, and then me and my brother had a bunk bed.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
I never had it, but I had 2 brothers.
And then eventually when we got older and stuff, we had to move and stuff.
Since you talk about this, so for me, I always been not until recently we bought a house. But always been living in living room, where we always have a bedroom in the living room, even back home.
Yeah.
Because we can't afford to have a 2-bedroom, so we always have to have something.
Yeah, you make do, especially in New York City, man.
When I first moved to New York City and I heard about flex bedrooms, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Flex bedrooms.
What are
so a flex bedroom for the uninitiated here, a flex bedroom is a bedroom that is 1 bedroom less than what it says on the listing. So if you say it's a 2-bedroom flex apartment, what that means is there's 1 bedroom and then you can pay to have contractors come in and put a wall in the living room to turn the living room into a 2nd bedroom.
People do that. People
do that, but it's I just find it fucked up.
But you're selling, but the selling point is that
the selling point is you'll see it listed as a 2-bedroom flex.
So what happens after you leave? Do you break the wall or
you have to take the wall down when you leave?
What?
You have to pay to put the wall up. You have to pay to take the wall down when you leave.
Yo, only in New York City.
Only in New York City.
I think
people in the kitchen. They even like made one room in the kitchen. Somebody could live there, bro.
New York City,
Bro.
oh my.
Yeah, New York City's
The illegal architecture of New York City is hilarious. The way they expand buildings, the way they like make rooms, like you will not see that anywhere. I don't even think you'll see that in Tokyo. Like I feel like New York City is a different breed when it comes
I think
to
it's
like
too many people in New York City. That's the issue.
it's not people. I think there's people, but we're willing to do anything to like survive, quote unquote, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not looking down on anyone. It just I find it fascinating. I did that. Like we used to live in a 2-bedroom with 6 people. I don't think that's like thing, but what can you do, right? You have to afford what you can afford.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I was just like, I was kind of like shocked when I first tried to move to the city. And I was looking at these flex apartments. And I was like, wow, it's so cheap, but it's not. It's not cheap. Like most of them are garbage. Like if you put a flex wall in the living room, you probably won't have access to a window. And I've met like so many people who like their room has no window in it. They like shut their door and it's just pitch black in the room all the time. I mean, it's a little depressing.
What was your first New York City apartment? Like, I think you say you moved. Besides, like, as a kid, what was like?
My first New York City apartment when I moved here as an adult.
Right. Yeah. I don't think you moved. You moved only once here, right? Or,
yeah. So I moved here twice. I moved here when I was a kid, and then I moved here as an adult.
Okay. Yeah.
And so when I moved here as an adult, quick overview. I moved into a luxury building, quote unquote. Luxury buildings in New York City are not luxury buildings.
Yeah.
Right?
You still get the rat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It was so messed up, but it was the only one that kind of. Because I was moving in with a roommate, my like one of my close friends.
Yeah.
It was his idea to move to New York City. He was like, "Hey, and like I would like to have a roommate. Do you want to move to New York City with me?"
Yeah.
And I'll tell the whole story later. But we got here.
We should have like a New York City adventure.
Yeah. We definitely will. But so every apartment we looked at like 25 apartments in 2 days, and all of them the like second room was good. It was a broom closet. Like it was tiny. It was like there's no way you could fit anything larger than maybe like a twin bed in there.
And then that's a bedroom.
Yeah, and that's a bedroom. Yeah, no way.
You literally is the size of this table. They just call it a bed.
Yeah, so we had to go a little over our budget to get to one of these luxury apartments where it's just both bedrooms are actually the same size. Like,
hey, you want a normal bedroom? Guess what? It's a luxury bedroom.
Yeah, exactly. It's messed up. It's messed up. But let's go back to, because I kind of want to hear more about this. So you were saying that it was 2-bedroom. You had 4 siblings.
Yeah, so I was 2-bedroom, and then we, my parents used to live in that and then thing. I think eventually my brother moved to the living room, like to get his thing. I don't know. I moved to the living room. I don't remember. One of us moved to the living room, and then that was my one fun thing that did happen. My landlord used to pay me like whenever there used to be a vacancy. He used to pay me to like open the door because this dude didn't want to hire real estate people. Yeah, he used to pay me like $20 to like
to just go open the door for people and they wanted to come view.
Was it $20 or $5? I think it was like
you open
$5.
the door for what?
For people to come view the
apartment. Like so, anytime there was a vacancy in the unit, my landlord used to be like, "Yo, Rasha, like open the thing. Yeah, let me know how many." And he used to pay me another thing. Wow. But I think it was like $5 or something. I don't think it was 20. But it was so much money for me, bro. It was like,
that's the American way right there. Just the child labor.
Did you tell your parents you got?
Yeah. He used to do it for like I think he did. He asked fun of my parents, but yeah, like every time I opened the door, I used to get $5. It was pretty cool. Like I think that was like that dude was pretty lit. But he used to not fix anything, dude. Like we had bed bugs, dude. We had to figure out our way to get rid of it. Like
I think it's rare that a landlord will do anything about bed bugs.
Like not just bed bugs, bro. Anything, the lights, the thing. The only time he'll care is that if it's like really part of the property, like if the sink breaks, like.
Well, there's a lot of things we can do as a tenant, right? We didn't know that because I think
right.
So people like us, like Desi people, they're scared of things. They
immigrants,
don't go,
like
immigrants.
We used to just take the L.
Complained.
Yeah.
We could have complained about this stuff, and like, you know, somebody would come and they're like, oh, this is not livable. You can't stay here.
Right.
Then they'll come to the owner.
Yeah.
Right. But no, we never do such a thing. Like,
No,
never.
that's
Maybe it's a one call away. You know, like just call them. Hey, we're having this issue, but then landlord not fixing it. They would have come and fix it. So you know what happened other day? So I live in a new neighborhood, right? I recently got there. So what happened? I saw there's a trash all over on the sidewalks. I couldn't walk there.
Yeah.
So I there's a app called 311, right?
New
So
York
I didn't
City,
know about it. So
yeah.
right, I just recently checking in the app like if I could do anything about it. Then I saw there's an option for it. You could just complain about it and people come. So what happened is I did the complaint and they didn't show up, right? They said they still doing the investigation, right?
Yeah.
So what happened? I called them. Just call them and make sure. Why didn't you guys come? They're like, oh no, this is not our property. You know, like this is not a public property. This is
interesting.
So I'm like, no, this is actually under the bridge, so it's considered as public because nobody's gonna clean it up, right?
Yeah.
So then once I called them, they came later on. They cleaned it.
Oh shit,
So,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that, right?
Yeah.
That they learned. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened next day? I saw somebody not trash. There was a tree fell on the sidewalk, and I complained about it. So I knew this process. So same thing about the tenants. There's a way you can complain about your landlord. Like I don't know, if there's an app for it, but obviously there's a website for it.
Right. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's cool.
That is pretty cool.
So you can call them whatever and be like, I'm having the radish in the house. They'll come and.
If you live in New York City, 311 and
we'll take the sponsorship 311.
Yeah. Come on, New York. Come on, government. Come on. But going back, I do want to know, like, do you guys have any other buildings that you're either way like fond about or you really hate it? Like, I kind of like any other.
I actually lived only 3 buildings including this building I bought, a house bought.
Yeah.
So first one is back home. Second one is like I didn't talk about that one, but it's like apartment house, like you said, apartment house. There's nothing to talk about. It's like too bad. But here's the thing. I don't know if I should talk about it. So we didn't have much money to afford too bad, right? So we used to my uncle used to live, not uncle, my cousin used to live with us. So we share one bed with them. So just to save money.
I see.
So we did a couple for a few years.
You know, you break a few building codes when you
it was because of my so when they came, my dad just got a job. He doesn't know at all. So and we were like underage. We couldn't work. So that's why my parents did it. Like my uncle did it like for us. They're like, you could save money.
Right.
But that wasn't. There was no. What do you call it? There was no not safety. There was no privacy at all for us.
Oh yeah.
Because you're living on the living room, and there's no privacy. You could, as you grow up, a lot of things happens, and people could see you like when you come in. I didn't like that. It was one of the worst bad experience I had.
That is something that you do see a lot.
Yeah.
The amount of people I know that lives in basement that's not supposed to like.
Yo, that even happened with me at one point. When right after my parents split up, my uncle. So my dad has a twin.
Yeah.
So my dad's twin moved in with us with his son, my cousin. So there were just like 6 people living in a house.
Right. You sometimes.
Yeah, you just make it work, right?
You gotta make it work, bro. Like we talked about all the system that's against us. That is why we had to. What about you, Joel? Any other buildings or anything that pops up?
Just because I like telling like interesting stories.
Yeah, go for it.
And I'll try to make this one less depressing. But so at one point we were living in a family friend. So we were still going. We were Jehovah's Witnesses at the time. We were still going to church, and we had made friends with this family. They had a property in Florida, and they decided that they were going to move back to where they originally were from in Tennessee, and they bought a house in Tennessee, and they moved up there, but left some of their stuff. So they just let us kind of move into their property and take care of it, make sure it was being lived in, being taken care of, right?
Yeah.
And some very interesting things there happened there, but I made friends and all that. But somewhere down the line, we got a ambulance.
Okay.
We like just an old ambulance that wasn't in use anymore.
Wait, you guys just straight out bought an ambulance?
Yeah, we just bought an ambulance. Yeah, you can just go to like auctions of like yeah, you can buy like old ambulances, you can buy old police cars, you can buy a lot of these like old vehicles that like have outlived their like whatever their like lifespan is. You can go buy them, right?
I didn't know
so
that.
we had an ambulance, and for the longest time it was just parked in our backyard, and I would like open up the back door and I would climb up on top of the ambulance and chill out up there.
They still have the light on the top?
No, they took the lights off.
Yeah. Hey, let me go to the grocery.
Yeah, right. But no,
I need a milk, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was.
Why
an
are you
emergency.
stopping me? How
I bought it. Yeah, I bought it.
What am I doing wrong? I need a milk. It's an emergency, right?
So I bought the ambulance and I'm gonna use the thing that comes with it, right?
Right.
Exactly. And so I would climb on top of the ambulance, and I would jump from the top of the ambulance onto the top of the rooftop.
Yeah.
Yo, I would get into crazy stuff as a kid. Yeah.
That sounds lit, though. I'm not gonna lie. That sounds.
It was so much fun, and where it kind of comes into play is the ambulance was the building that we lived in. So at some point, I don't know what I mean. I know what it was.
What do you mean ambulance is a building?
This was after my parents had split up, right? And my dad was I don't know if it was paranoia. There's a lot that I can get into about that. But he was worried that my mom was gonna come and like try to like kidnap us. So his solution to this problem was that we were just gonna throw a bed in the back of the ambulance.
Yeah. And all live.
And we were just gonna go to like Walmart parking lots and like sleep there. And this lasted about 2 days.
But
and then we were like, you know what, this isn't worth it.
Right. With that chaos.
I've got crazy stories from my childhood to tell.
Cool, crazy than this.
with that story of chaos, it is getting a little late here. Let's wrap it up.
You're definitely right. I've got one more thing to say about that building. And this is something I want to have a topic on later. But there were a lot of like crazy like paranormal things that happened in that building. Yeah. And I won't tell them now, just to generate a little interest for whenever we do that.
We do it like
maybe we could do like a Halloween.
Halloween where we talk about like, because I do have some scary stories from like kids. Like my school, like I freaked out, bro. That thing was it. So like, that would be fun. Like
I would like to do an episode.
I bet Shundeep like has so much like ghost stories.
There is.
I definitely need to be on something because I am a little bitch. I get scared of it. I don't believe in ghosts, but I do not want to know shit about it.
Yeah. I mean, because then you're like, you're laying in bed at night, your lights off, you're like, oh shit, is this that ghost I'm hearing about?
All right.
Yeah,
man, like this has been Theory of Chaos. I think thanks for listening to our different stories. It was definitely a interesting thing to talk
about like, personal stuff.
So thanks for listening. I've been Sensei. This has been
Salt.
Octane.
Yeah, definitely check out their socials. It's gonna be on the link. Do feel to subscribe. We also have our Theory of Chaos socials here. Man. Feel free to live about your buildings and how you interact. And like, we'll definitely love to know about it and all that. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks a bunch.